Hello, everyone. Thank you so much and welcome to our NGCP national webinar, The Impact of STEM Role Models and Mentors. I'm so thrilled that you're all here with us tonight to celebrate National Mentoring Month and to hear from some amazing women in different parts of their STEM journeys. My name is Sullivan, and I'm a senior program developer at the National Girls Collaborative Project, and I have the pleasure of managing our national webinars. And I'm so excited that you're all here with us tonight. And I want to welcome you to use the chat and the Q&A feature. You can use the chat to introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming from. Some of our panelist speakers will be in the chat, and my colleague Candid from NGCP, you'll see her really actively in the chat, sharing links and resources and helpful things for you to help connect more with the things that we're talking about tonight. And if you have any questions, Candid, you can also pop my email in the chat if anyone wants to follow up and talk more about this webinar or future webinars. Before we dive into our panel of speakers tonight, in case some of you are joining us for the first time with a National Girls Collaborative event, I wanted to just give you a little bit of background on who we are and what it is that we do. So you can see our vision here on screen. We're a national network of diverse stakeholders who are advancing the agenda of gender equity. We bring together organizations that are committed to informing and encouraging girls to consider STEM. As a network of networks, our reach is broad. Our programs serve 20 million girls, and because many of our programs also serve boys, that means we reach more than 12 million boys as well. And we've been transforming STEM for 20 years. And our vision, it's actually at the heart of it, pretty simple. Our goal is to create STEM experiences that are as diverse as the world we live in. So you can see our three essential goals on screen here. NGCP believes that STEM skills can be acquired by anyone and fostered in everyone. Our initiatives build confidence and create a community of lifelong STEM activators. Through the power of collaboration, we're all about collaboration at NGCP if you've been to any of our other events. So through that power of collaboration, we hope to spark curiosity and develop a passion for STEM. And we do this by sharing resources with a coalition of leaders. We do this through our website, our newsletters, our online databases, social media, and of course, webinars like this one. We aim to strengthen the capacity of programs by sharing exemplary practices, research, and program models. When programs are stronger and more sustainable, we believe that girls and youth are better served. So we try to distribute these resources in accessible ways like train-the-trainer programs and online platforms. And finally, we leverage our network of girl-serving STEM programs, advocates, and youth so that together we can create the tipping point for gender equity in STEM. We are really active at NGCP. I feel like we're always involved with a million different activities and projects, which is so exciting. And I just want to share about a few of them with you tonight. And in fact, since you're all here for National Mentoring Month and to talk about mentors and role models, some of these activities and projects that we work on are directly related to role models and mentors. So as I'm sharing with you a little bit about some of these programs we're involved with, Candid will be sharing useful links in the chat because you might want to check out some of these resources to help you get a role model into your program or to become a role model yourself. So let me share with you a little bit about these activities you see on screen here. We partner with organizations to scale and deliver content, such as the Leap into Science National Network in partnership with the Franklin Institute and the Million Girl Moonshot, in partnership with STEM Next and the Mott After School State Networks, serving hundreds of educators via local networks. Working with Lyda Hill Philanthropies, NGCP manages the If Then collection, a library of photos, videos, and other media of women in STEM fields. These media are available at no cost. NGCP also hosts the Youth Advisory Board. That's a tongue twister. The Youth Advisory Board helps to review and provide feedback on our current NGCP initiatives and projects. And really, we hope that they provide a youth voice informing the future directions of NGCP. FabFems, this is a great role model related database. It's an international database of female role models from many STEM fields. They're passionate about the work they do, and they're ready to connect with programs to spark girls' interests. So you might want to check out FabFems after this webinar to see how you can bring a role model into your setting, or you might want to become a FabFem yourself. And locally, our state collaborative leadership teams offer convenings, providing professional development, mini grants for innovative projects when funding is available. And they also distribute their own regular newsletters spotlighting local resources. Of course, I think you know a little bit about our national webinars because you're here, you found us, you're here tonight, or you're viewing our recording, but we do host them monthly and we have a lot of great topics and speakers. So please check out this link to find out about our future webinars. And last but not least, if you are interested in any of the things that I've shared and you want to know more, please sign up for our newsletter. We'll pop that link in the chat. This is your way of being the first to know about resources, webinars, events, and things like that. And now I'm so thrilled to move on to our wonderful panel tonight. And I want to thank you all once again for joining us to celebrate National Mentoring Month and coming to hear and speak with and be inspired by our panel of women in STEM from all different aspects of their STEM journey. And it's my pleasure to turn it over to my colleague, Nancy Scales-Coddington, who will introduce herself, and she will be hosting this panel discussion tonight. Nancy?
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you for joining us. I'm Nancy Scales-Coddington, Director of Strategic Partnerships at National Girls Collaborative Project. And we wanted to gain insight into the impact of role models and mentors who inspire girls and young women to pursue and sustain careers in STEM. We are joined by a great panel of speakers tonight who are going to talk about their personal experiences and journeys in STEM with a specific focus on their mentoring relationships. Our guests include students, professors, and professionals across a diverse range of STEM fields. So let's meet our guests. I'd like to welcome Dr. Jessica Waugh, Associate Professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for the introduction, and thank you all for being here. I'm very excited to be a part of this webinar. So in a nutshell, my lab at UW-Madison is interested in studying pollutants, parasites, and people. Specifically, we're interested in understanding how environmental change can influence disease outcome. So when it comes to disease outcome, one approach might be to look at the host perspective and ask, well, what are things that influence the host's ability to avoid parasites? Alternatively, we can turn our attention to the parasites and ask, well, what are factors that influence the parasite's ability to infect the host? Now, building upon this traditional model, the field of disease ecology has increasingly recognized the importance of the environment in shaping host-parasite interactions. Now, when it comes to the environment, in my lab, we're interested in pollutants. And these pollutants can include things from pharmaceuticals to road salts to light pollution, microplastics. Now, when we're looking at this traditional disease ecology triangle, we recognize that there are often more factors going on than just host and parasites. For example, there are many ecological complexities that we need to consider, including how predators or competitors influence disease outcome. So a central goal in our lab is to ask how we can integrate ecological complexity into our understanding of disease outcome. Now, in addition to the ecological perspective, we're also interested in asking how can we integrate in this evolutionary perspective? There are many different examples of evolutionary responses to pollutants, from things like evolved tolerance to pesticides to the evolution of tolerance in antibiotic resistance, and all of these factors can influence disease outcome. Now, pollutants can influence from an evolutionary perspective. For example, if hosts are able to evolve tolerance to something like pesticides, it may allow them to persist and live. However, the question we're interested in is if they're evolving tolerance to pesticides, what cost is associated with their ability to fight their parasites? So lastly, global change biology is a topic that has direct links to human society and conservation. So in this next slide, we are showing an image of one of the important factors of what me and my group do, which is to find ways of more effectively communicating our research to broader audiences. We do this by providing opportunities for members of the public to participate in science through community science initiatives. Specifically, we are interested in how art and stories can be used as tools to train community members to collect data. So here are just two examples of a children's book and a graphic novel that we have developed to train third graders on how to collect amphibian data. Now, lastly, the one thing I wanted to say, all of this work that we do in my lab would not have been possible without the incredibly talented people that work in this group. So I'm really excited also for you all to hear from one of them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wah. You're doing a lot of amazing work in your lab, and we're excited to hear more about that in a few minutes. I'd like to introduce next Adrienne Hill, who is a certified prosthetist, orthotist, clinical assistant professor at Kennesaw State University. Welcome.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everyone. I'm so excited to start and talk to all of you about the wonderful field of prosthetics, orthotics, and pedorthics. Next slide. So what is POP? POP is the best career you've never heard of. We change lives, we challenge ourselves, as well as have fun. In our field, we actually look at two things. We look at orthotics. So this is the care of a patient who is having some type of difficulty ambulating, and we make the devices in order to support the body part that's not doing well. The other half of what we do is prosthetics. This is from someone that has actually missing a limb and their quality of life is not where we want it to be. So we're there to provide below, above elbow, below and above knee prostheses as well. But we do it in all different senses. So not only are we the actual prosthetist orthotist designing and making the device for them, we have technicians, assistants, fitters, as well as pedorthics. Pedorthics is the field that deals with just kind of ankle down your feet. Our feet hold us up every day, so we need to make sure that we're taking care of them. Prosthetics and orthotics can be found nationwide, which is the wonderful part of this. I am at Kennesaw State University, and I'm assistant professor there, but there are programs nationwide as a master's degree in order to get into our field. So we wanted to make sure we had a list of the schools that do provide. Currently, there are 14. There will be 15 at the end of the year that provide the wonderful field of prosthetics and orthotics. So what would you say? No day is the same. We are problem solvers. There's the wonderful field that we are in now. So I definitely want to shed a light on prosthetics and orthotics. To tell you a little bit about myself, I've actually been around the field my entire life. My grandfather was a bilateral above knee amputee who wore little stubbies in the house, and then he'd put on grandpa's magic legs and take us out to the movies and out to the park. He was probably our caregiver probably until I was about 9 years old. But with that, I wanted to make sure everyone knew about this wonderful field. So for the last 10 years, I've been going into K through 12 schools as well as undergraduate colleges to talk about this magnificent field. We do community outreach, we do education, as well as social media posts to talk about the profession of prosthetics and orthotics. As I said before, this is the best field that you've never heard of. One thing I really love is the community outreach that we do within prosthetics and orthotics. That allows us to go to hospitals, community service projects, Grady Kids, as well as several different things within where we are, which is in Georgia, but nationwide. So if you ever wanted to look up what is POP on the internet, you can reach out and go have a mentor nationwide to come into your school, to come in and shadow, or you can go in and shadow at one of their clinics, as well as come into one of the schools to see what we do on a daily basis. I wanted to add in a couple of pictures here of my students at Kennesaw State, as well as, my students at Kennesaw State while they're working in the lab, as well as some outreach pictures of what we've done nationwide. I wanted to make sure I put this slide in there. This is our contact information. If you ever wanted to email us to learn more about prosthetics and orthotics, feel free. Myself, Stacy Brown, and Emma Stockwell are here to talk to you about our wonderful field.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. That was great. I would love to continue our introductions, and I would like to introduce Isabella Tuthill. She's a PhD student in the WA lab. Welcome, Isabella.
Hi, thank you everyone for being here. As Nancy said, Isabella, I'm part of the WA lab at the Wisconsin University of Madison. As just mentioned, I study specifically the evolutionary responses of bacteria to antibiotics and how it affects the biodiversity disease relationship by exposing both the pathogen to the bacteria and the host, and see if the pathogen is able to grow.
Thank you, Isabella. Next, I would like to introduce Maithili Kumar, who is a mechanical engineering student at UC Berkeley and is also a mentor. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me. First of all, I'm really excited and glad I could be here with a lot of amazing panelists. But yeah, I'm Maithili Kumar. I'm a freshman at Berkeley. I'm studying mechanical engineering. And yeah, so the past 4 years throughout high school, I kind of got into engineering by participating in robotics. So I did the first tech challenge. So basically a competition where each year you have a new challenge and you build a robot to compete in the challenge. And so when I started out, I had very little experience. I coded a little bit in middle school. I did some Python, but other than that, I had no engineering experience. But over the course of 4 years, I learned the design process. I learned 3D modeling softwares, or CAD. I learned how to build something from scratch. I learned about motors, CNC machines, 3D modeling and printing. So I learned a lot over the past 4 years, and especially including applying things I learned in schools, like using trig to calculate the angle for linear slides, or using physics to calculate RPMs that we needed to accurately shoot something at a target. So it was really fun, and I definitely learned a lot from it. And then now I'm in college, so I'm obviously at the very beginning of my STEM career and journey, but I'm just really excited because I'm getting to take a lot of interesting classes. So currently I have 2 physics classes, so solid mechanics and thermodynamics, and then I get to also learn a lot of application of physics and math, so circuitry and 3D modeling classes. And then I'm really looking forward to what I can explore in the future. I'm leaning towards the field of robotics, especially there's soft robotics, which is a pretty new and emerging field somewhat, where there's a lot of bio-inspired robots and a lot more organic human-like robots. And so I'm leaning towards that field, but there's a lot of automotive opportunities or rocketry. So I don't know, but I'm excited to see where I'll go with it. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much. That's great. And I'd like to introduce the mentee of Maithili. This is Neha Shafi, and she's a student at American High School. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. So I'm a sophomore at American High School. So I'm obviously just starting off in my STEM career. So I guess as an introduction. So last year, I was a freshman, and entering high school, that's kind of sort of the time where you explore your passions and explore what you're interested in. And at our school, I saw that there was a robotics team called Ink and Metal, which is the same team that Maithili was part of. So I met Maithili through that. So on our team, I'm the captain of our outreach/finance branch, and I also do code. So previously, in middle school, I did do some I did Python, and I did try to meddle a little bit in AI. So I had a little exposure to CS, and I think really joining FTC helped me explore a lot of like applications of CS into like robotics, which was something I didn't really have that much exposure to. And it also introduced me to like a new environment of like working with other people, which is something that I didn't really have previous experience with. So I'm still going through it. I still have 2 years left, and I'm really looking forward to see where it'll take me in the future.
Thank you so much. And we're so glad that you're here with us today. I'd like to introduce Emma Stockwell, who is a graduate student in the MSPO prosthetic program. Welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. So I'm originally from Southern Minnesota. I got my undergraduate degree at the University of Northern Iowa in exercise science before moving to the Atlanta area to pursue the career of prosthetics and orthotics. I'm at KSU University, and Miss Adrienne Hill is one of my professors.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. And lastly, but certainly not least, is Miss Stacy Brown, who is a mentee and also graduate of Northwestern University MSPO program and board eligible prosthetist orthotist. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I am from Atlanta, Georgia. I got my undergrad in biology from Georgia State. And then I went to grad school at Northwestern. I finished residency with Hanger Clinic in Elmira, New York, and I am currently working as a board eligible CPO in Athens, Georgia. So it's a lot of different journeys, but I'm making it.
Well, we can't wait to hear more about that. My first question tonight is for Isabella. Tell us how your mentor, Dr. Watt, has influenced your STEM journey.
Sure. Thank you for the question. First, she's a great person to follow. She shows me every day, mostly more important that I can do it. So she makes me believe in myself, which is hard during your graduate school. There's a lot of stress and sometimes you're down, but every time I go to her with any idea, she's super excited and she pushes me to follow what I truly want to do and guides me to think better or like guide my thoughts to find the right answer. So she has been a great mentor in all the senses.
Well, it definitely sounds like it. Neha, can you share a bit about your relationship with your mentor, Maithili?
Yeah, so last year, like as a freshman, and Maithili was a senior at that time. So I didn't really know, like coming into like FTC, like I didn't really know how to like work as a team. I didn't really have previous experience with a lot of the different concepts. And like first, like entering into it, it was really like super confusing for me. And I honestly had pretty much no idea what was going on at that time. And one thing that like Maithili really helped with was like, if we hadn't like any questions, she was like really open for us to ask. Like it was like a no judgment, like free zone. And like, I remember like when our season like kicked off, we'd like discuss like in our small little group with like our new recruits, and she'd be like encouraging us to like share our ideas and like sort of discuss like different routes that we could take. And that I think that was like really helpful and like for me to sort of open up and share my ideas.
That's great. She sounds like a wonderful mentor. Emma, can you talk a little bit about how working with Adrienne has impacted you?
Sure. So as you've all heard, Adrienne is just an incredible woman. She has an outstanding reputation and she is a powerhouse. Everyone around here knows her and loves her and wants the opportunity to work with her. So we're super, super excited to get to have her at school as one of our professors and of course as a mentor. I just view her as a superhero, honestly. She does it all and manages to still love her family, love her kids, love us well. She just gets to do it all. And so she's really inspired me to dream big and reach those dreams, and that I can do anything I set my mind to.
Well, that is very, very true. And that sounds like an amazing impact that she's having. Stacy, can you share a little bit about how Adrienne as a mentor has influenced you?
So in our profession, African Americans in our profession represent probably less than 2%. And so just being in a place of wanting to see yourself and having that representation, and just that being extremely important, of having someone that looks like you, so that you can know that you can do it and know that you can achieve it. And so she's just been a wonderful example of how I want to interact with patients, of how I want to impact the world. I am extremely passionate about doing outreach, and she has just put me in different places and connecting with different people to be able to be a part of that. And so she's great, just like Emma said, and I'm definitely grateful to know her and to build a relationship and a friendship with her.
That is really amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm going to flip this right back to Adrienne. So Adrienne, why do you think it's so important to devote time to mentoring younger generations of girls and women in STEM?
Absolutely. I think now that the drive has changed to outreach with females in STEM, I think us as the like the middle generation, I'm a millennial at that best, is to bring up the people underneath us. I always say that I'm just part of this pyramid. I'm not at the top of the pyramid and I'm not at the bottom, but I'm definitely in the middle to make sure that my shoulders are strong enough for all the next generation of girls in science to be there. So with my background in physics and biomedical engineering, that is where I really want to make sure that, you know, we have a strong presence, both as a female as well as an African American. So my shoulders are just here to stay strong so that everyone else, I can hold them up.
Well, that is not an easy task.
Yes.
Thank you. Maithili, why do you choose to mentor?
Yeah, so I think this has a bit of a personal angle for me, because when I first joined the team, I think there was maybe like 3 girls, and there was like out of the 17. And at one point I was like the only girl, and it was just very, it's a little intimidating, and also just hard when there's no one else that's, you know, you can look up to or ask, like feel super comfortable with. And so I feel like now, I really, as I got towards the end of my junior and senior year, I really, really wanted to make sure that I was there for the people that came after me, or I helped bring more girls onto the team, because it's just such a great opportunity, and it's not good that there aren't that many girls doing it. So it was really personal for me to be able to help someone, or to just be the person that I didn't really have when I first joined. And even though it's just a high school robotics team, I think in general, like it can be expanded to just career in general, where you always want someone that you can talk to and be open to.
Absolutely. You need to start somewhere, right? And that's a great stepping stone to launch your interest and your curiosities. Thank you so much. Jessica, why is it so important to spend your time mentoring the next generation of girls and women in STEM?
From my perspective, my mentors are the reason I am here. I come from a refugee family where, I mean, we had a very limited understanding of how to navigate that academic setting. And so for me, I chose college because I wanted to continue my basketball career. So I had no idea what it is that I wanted to do. And the reason I actually even pursued a research opportunity was because my teammate was like, you probably should try this if you're interested in pursuing any medical degree. So I signed up late. And by the time I signed up, there were only 2 options left, but I could study frogs or plants. And the thought that came in my mind is, at least frogs move. And that is why I study what I do now. But looking back, I now realize that while my college, my PhD, postdoc mentors differed in their interests and approaches, the one thing they all had in common was that they were actively invested in helping us develop as scientists. And as a result, their labs were incredibly vibrant. They fostered diversity. And I think this diversity, this intersection is where innovation happens. And so Without their mentorship, support, guidance, I wouldn't be here today. And so that's something that's important to me to pass forward. And one of the things that I'm realizing, like even as I move through my career, I'm realizing that mentorship doesn't end. There are still people that continue to mentor me now. And whether it's throughout my career, I think that's something to always keep an eye out for.
I love that perspective, especially looking to, we're always continuing to grow. Thank you so much. Maithili, did you have any kind of mentor or advisor or a role model who influenced your own journey at this point?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, it's just my parents. Because while my parents aren't mechanical engineers, they are software engineers, so they're still in STEM. And I can see how like incredibly hard my mom especially works, and to like have a job to like help me and my sister and like run the home too. It's incredible. And I think both my parents have also always been great resources in that they're always very honest about what I have to do for myself and how I can grow, because I think I'm not the type of person who is, very ambitious and seeks opportunities by myself. So I think like my parents would help me a lot with their honesty to be like, hey, like, you are suited for this and you can do this. So you should definitely apply and don't count yourself out don't count yourself out. Just let other people make the decision and just apply anyway. So things like that.
That's definitely, yeah. Thank you so much. Adrienne, similar question. What kind of mentor or advisor did you have that really helped to influence your journey? I know you had talked about your grandfather. What was most influential about that relationship?
So my mentors came in very different settings in very different times in my life. So originally, my grandfather, my dad, who is also an amputee, and then my grandmother, who was a school teacher, all were part of my influence in being great mentors, right? So within my family is where I really started my drive. But then as I went through high school, went through into college, I definitely picked advisors and mentees that had two things. One, that thought like me, as well as someone that didn't think like me. So that I always kind of had devil's advocate there to tell me to make sure that I'm looking at both sides of the world and both sides of science, both sides of education. And that really brought me through. And then even today, in my career, transitioning from clinical practice to education, I have mentors in education from different MSPO schools, as well as mentors in the clinical setting, so that I never lose touch with what's going on. And I will tell you this, my mentors are not always older than me. Some of them are younger than me, because maybe it's some technology that I didn't realize was coming through the pipeline, or it's something that I needed to see in myself. So know that your mentors don't necessarily have to be someone older than you or in your same career. Let it be someone younger than you to make sure that you're staying on top of things.
I love that messaging, because it doesn't matter, age. It's that connection, right? And that advice and support that is so crucial. What a great message. Jessica, so with your mentors and advisors and role models, can you talk a little bit about your own career journey and, what was most influential about those relationships?
Yeah, for my own journey, I got into this research as a way to go to medical school. And I thought that that was what I wanted to do. And this was in college, and my mentor gave me this opportunity to study the effects of road salt on amphibians, something that I was not interested in at all. I was maybe even slightly afraid of amphibians. But what was really cool about this experience is that every day was different. You get to ask these really interesting questions. You get to work with super cool people, and people that genuinely care about what they're doing. And that passion brought me on to thinking about conservation questions. And this is what drives us as a lab now. We are all from so many different places, but this lab can serve as a platform for bringing people up. And that's something that is always going to be important to me, because I was given this opportunity because my parents made that really difficult decision to come over. They came over here with nothing. They didn't even speak the language. And here we are with this chance to help people along in this society. So that the mentors taking a chance on somebody who had no idea what they were doing, probably doing it for all the wrong reasons, helping me navigate all the little things in academia that you just don't know, like don't do this, don't write this, things like that. Couldn't have done it without them. So yeah, it's something that I will always appreciate.
That guidance is unbelievable and so valuable, especially at the right time, navigating all those challenges. Thank you. Isabella, have you faced any challenges as a young woman pursuing STEM, and how have you overcome these challenges with support from your mentor?
Fortunately, I have not. I don't feel like I have faced any challenges because I'm a woman or in STEM in general. I always had mentors that actually pushed me to follow a advanced career. So I have been really fortunate in that sense.
Thank you. Emma, have you faced any challenges while pursuing your STEM career, and how have you overcome those with support from your mentor?
Sure. Yeah, one thing definitely comes to mind. As I move towards graduation in May, looking for a job right now, we do residency after we graduate from our master's program, and I'm in the midst of waiting to hear back. And one of the things that is maybe a little unique about me is from the time I was probably 5, my passion has been in pediatrics. And in our field, that would be considered a specialty. And there's not that many people that would say from such a young time or early in their career, like that's what they want to do. And I've been warned and told by a lot of clinicians, a lot of people over the last year and a half, that that is an unwise decision to pursue pediatrics, that I would be pigeonholing myself or making myself less marketable because there just aren't that many jobs in that little small population. And so while I was in the midst of applying for everything, I went to Adrienne and I was like, I don't know if I should like tone back my love for kids or whatever. And Adrienne just looked at me. She was like, why? That's who you are. And just really encouraged me to be myself and show my passion and not change for anybody. And so she's always in my corner cheering me on. We have plans to amputate a doll so I can show little girls that there are dolls that look like them coming up. So Adrienne's always in my corner, inspiring me to be myself and to pursue what I feel passionate about.
And that definitely comes through, with you talking about that, and that's so incredibly important.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Thank you. Neha, have you experienced hurdles that your mentor has helped you overcome?
I wouldn't say they were like major challenges, like because I was like a girl in STEM. But I guess like one thing that like I personally like felt was like when I got on the team, there were like 6 out of 17 team members, I think, which is a lot better than like the 3 that Maithili mentioned earlier. But it's still like 33% and not quite the equality that we want to reach. And I guess for me, like it was really daunting at first because like I said previously, like I really did not know how to work with people like as a team. Like I'm generally like a pretty introverted person, and I really only worked with other people on like group projects in school. So I wasn't really familiar with that setting, and like stepping in without any prior knowledge and being surrounded by so many people who had like so much experience was really daunting, and I had really low confidence in myself. And felt really intimidated to like speak up and get involved. And Maithili always made sure to like ask all of us like new recruits. I think there were like 7 of us. She always made sure to ask all of us about our perspectives and opinions about like the topic that we were discussing, and I'll always make sure to check in and make sure we understand. So I think that was like really reassuring to like for me to know that I had someone to ask if I had anything like, and I felt comfortable being around.
That's incredibly inspiring, and that support is so crucial. Thank you. Stacy, how has Adrienne helped you overcome challenges as your mentor?
Where do I start? So I was born with congenital flexion contractures of my elbow, so basically my arms can extend. And so it was going through residency, going through grad school, and feeling kind of like the odds were against me, that who I wasn't enough, that what defined me wasn't enough. As a Black woman with a disability, that there were things that were going to get in the way of my success. And I think that there were times that I felt like a failure, and I felt like my body had failed me because this job is really hard on our bodies. And I remember Miss Adrienne telling me to never say that again. She was like, "You're not a failure. You're doing the best that you can, and that is enough." And she reminds me to give myself grace. And I can be very, 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 very hard on myself at times. So I just think it's important to have someone in your corner who sees you and who believes in you, even during times when you can't see yourself or believe in yourself. And so just having someone there to cheer you on along the journey, someone that has been through the journey and that has possibly had to overcome similar things.
That's incredible, and does make such a big difference in boosting your own confidence, right? That's amazing. Thank you so much. Adrienne, what is one thing that you believe needs to change to create equity in your STEM field?
So in prosthetics and orthotics, probably the last 10 years has definitely moved toward equity in our field. We're doing a lot more in terms of ableism. We're doing a lot more with listening to our clinicians as well as listening to our patients. We are very patient-focused career field. And that's the wonderful things, because we change people's lives. But within that, we need to change the times with that. This was a very much a grandfathered business for a long time. And now that it's moved to a master's degree, we are now looking at more young people in the career of prosthetics and orthotics. We're looking at more females in the career of prosthetics and orthotics, bringing that empathy side to healthcare. So one thing I believe that is going to have to change, and is in the midst of doing that, is changing the view of females in this field. Even though you may say that we are docile, we are still very, very strong. So giving us a wrench to take apart a prosthesis, we are ready for it. Giving us, putting our safety goggles on and putting our ear protection on and going to a Troutman and making a prosthesis, making orthosis and smoothing it up just right, we're making those changes. So for me, I do feel like that we are starting that journey, and it's just going to take all of us to get there.
Yeah.
So our field, I just want to make one more comment. Our field went from probably 30% female or 25% female. And out of the graduating classes that are coming out of the 14 schools, I think we're at like 57% or 62%. I can't remember. I looked at two different things today, but it is very strong. So I'm happy that I went from clinical practice into education to bring even more girls through the pipeline.
Well, and it sounds like you're making a huge impact from what we're hearing this evening. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Jessica, I'm going to ask you that same question. What is one thing that you believe needs to change to create equity in your STEM field?
Yeah, I think actually, as I was pondering and listening to just all the different answers, opportunity is something that pops up right away. For me, being in the ecological field, this was something I never even knew existed. And I think that from my background, outdoors is something that was considered dangerous, something that was considered dirty, and not something that was held up high. And so one of the things that we hope to do, and in our field we hope to do, is provide people with opportunities to engage with the outdoors, to participate in the science, because studies show that as you're participating, you then develop the capacity for making decisions about difficult topics like climate change or vaccines and things like that. And so the first thing is providing opportunities to people beyond just the typical people that might participate in these community science events. So broadening participation, giving these tools to people beyond the general people that might be interested in and only focused on the smaller groups. And the other one I think that's really important is changing the definition of success. We look at people and say, well, this is how we're going to judge the people applying for programs, and they check off all the lists. But I think my favorite line from my former advisor is, there are many different ways to be successful. And we need to recognize that, and we need to lift those people up, because that diversity is going to blow our field apart. So those are the things that I think are important.
That is so true and so inspiring. Thank you so much for that. Neha, you have a relatively close age gap with your mentor, Maithili, high school to college. What do you think are the benefits of having a near peer mentoring relationship like you both have? And I think we might have lost her. Okay, Maithili, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
I think in general, it just is helpful that there's someone you can relate to and be very comfortable around. It's just like talking to a friend. Like I hope that not only with Neha, but with all the like other new recruits, I'm pretty close with all of them. So I'm glad that I get to be like a friend or like an older sister to them, and to just be someone they can talk to freely and openly.
That's wonderful. And I think Neha has joined us again. So I'm going to pose this question to her. You have a relatively close age gap with your mentor, high school to college. So what do you think are the benefits of that near peer mentoring relationship that you both have?
I think since we're like so close in age, like we're easily like able to relate with each other. Like Maithili's gone through the same things that I have, and like it's just easy for me to like sort of envision sort of that future, because it's really only like 3 to 4 years that we're on the team. So it's like really helps me be able to sort of picture what like my senior year on the team would look like, or my junior year. So yeah, I think that's really helpful for me to like make decisions as well.
Thank you so much. So I know we're getting to the top of the hour, and so I would love for us all to go around and answer this question, and I will call on everybody. So if you could give younger girls one piece of advice about STEM, what would it be? And I'm going to start with Jessica.
One piece of advice for girls, I'll just keep it simple. You got this.
Oh, I love that. Isabella.
Believe in yourself. In the darkest moments, you can do it.
That's great. Thank you so much. Maithili.
My piece of advice would be something I wish I had done more, and that's just explore new things. I think there's a lot of resources that I didn't like make use of. So I think just trying to take on projects yourself and just do stuff that you think is interesting. I think that helps a lot when you're trying to talk to people and trying to learn more. It helps if you have just the knowledge and interest in something. So I think just exploring new things.
That's great advice. Neha.
I think this is something that I myself need to improve on as well, but like never be afraid to like speak up and get involved in things.
You said that perfectly. Thank you. Adrienne.
I guess my advice would be to make sure you have a passion about it. So regardless of what the salary is, what people think about it, your parents, those kind of things, make sure it's a passion. So if your passion is dance, if your passion is science, just have that passion and make sure that they definitely see you shine when you think about it and you talk about your career.
Passion is so transformative, absolutely, because it certainly is contagious. Emma.
My advice would just be find a support system, find those people that will be in your corner and encourage you in the hard times, because there will be hard times, but just find the people that will support you and cheer you on in every way.
Thank you. And Stacy, when you wrap us up.
My advice would be that you're enough, that the things that set you apart, whether if you're a woman of color or just being a girl in STEM, whether if you're interested in pediatrics, that those are things that set you apart and they don't set you behind.
Thank you. I think we have heard some absolute amazing words of inspiration this evening. I would like to thank all of our guests, Dr. Jessica Waugh, Isabella Tuthill, Maithili Kumar, Neha Shafi, Adrienne Hill, Emma Stockwell, Stacy Brown. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing all of these amazing words of inspiration. I know that I am certainly leaving this so incredibly inspired. Thank you. I would like to go ahead and turn this back over to my colleague, Amanda.
Thank you, Nancy, for hosting such an exciting and informative discussion tonight. And thank you once again to all of the panelists. I was so inspired hearing you speak. I was off video, moved to tears a couple of times with your personal stories. And I think it is just really important to hear not only your professional and academic journeys, but the personal experiences you have and what drives you and motivates you. So thank you so much for sharing that with all of us tonight. As we close out this event, I just want to thank everyone who attended and remind you that this session is being recorded. So that recording will be sent to everyone who registered, and the slides, all the things that were shared in the chat, the great links and resources will all be made available to you as well after this event. And I hope that you can join us for our webinar next month called Girls in STEM, a database tale of confidence and satisfaction on February 21st. Candid will put that link in the chat for you. We'll be exploring what data tells us about how to engage, retain, and fulfill women in STEM careers. And last but not least, we will pop a post-event survey in the chat, and it will also pop up after this event closes. If you have a few moments to just tell us what you think, what was interesting, what went well, and what you'd like to see in future webinars, we would love to hear from you. Those surveys directly impact the speakers we bring and the events that we choose to host. So once again, thank you all for your time. Happy National Mentoring Month, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care.
Thank you.